Okay, so hi everyone, thank you, good evening. Thanks for joining our social work webinar tonight. So joining us today, we have Kate Ricketts, she's the team leader for our UG programs. Shirley, the program leader for BSW, Bachelor of Social Work. Alex, a current student who's studying with us. So just so you know that we're recording this session, and just so that it doesn't get too chaotic, I've muted everyone, but if you would like to ask a question, please feel free to make use of the Q&A function of the webinar. It should be at the bottom of your screen, and we will be answering all the questions that have been asked as much as we can. We have Alex, Shirley, and Kate here to answer all our questions. So I'll leave it with Kate and Shirley now.
Thank you all for coming. It's we obviously often have these on campus, so I realise it's a little bit different tonight, but I'm hoping that we can still have all your questions answered. We're always here. We'll give you lots of contact details, so just remember if a question pops up that you've forgotten to ask, or you want to discuss your personal situation a little bit in more detail, then you're more than welcome to come and make an appointment with us. So what's going to happen is Shirley's just going to go through some of the aspects of the program briefly. I'll look and talk to you about the admission requirements, some of the support services and the scholarships available at the faculty, and then we'll let Alex have a chat to you about what his experiences have been as a student, and then we'll get into answering those questions. So I'll hand it over to Shirley.
Right. Kia ora mai tātou, mihi nui kia koutou, e haere mai kei te whakarongo, mō tēnei kaupapa. Just a quick brief acknowledgement to those that have come along this evening and who have an interest in the social work program. Some key facts: it's 4 years, it's a full-time, or 8 years part-time. It's located at the Epsom campus, and there are some other courses that happen at the city campus. Majority of the classes and etc. are held on the Epsom campus. There are 2 practical placements. They are 120 days in total for the 2, and they are in your 3rd year and your 4th year. This is where you will actually be going into social services organisations and undertaking a practicum, which can also lead to employment. And that there is, in year 2, the child and family practice, there is a youth services practice and social work practice electives. And so if you have a particular interest in youth services or child and family, then those are the electives that you could look at. It is an integrated approach, and that it looks at the theory and practice skills to build your knowledge to work with within the social services. And also for those who have an interest in going on the 4th year, and that will be dependent on your grade point average, but you could end up taking the BSW honours, which is it's a higher level than the BSW, and it does require more work, but that will also be the option. This program is recognised by the New Zealand Social Workers Registration Board. What that means is that by 2021, next year, or anyone who is working within social work or who has the title of social work in their job description will be required to be registered to be able to work in the field. What that means is that our program is recognised by the Social Work Registration Board, so that when you graduate with your qualification, that means you are eligible to apply for registration. So that because we're recognised and that the competencies of the registration board sit within our program, therefore they recognise that you have already met the competency and that you will make application to become registered. This usually can happen in December at the end of your qualifying year, or you could apply December onwards and to the registration board. Is there another slide? Yes. This is really interesting, diverse career options, and a lot of people think that social work is just in frontline working with children, working with young people. Social work does go across a number of areas. So if you have a particular interest in policy, if you have a particular interest in looking at legal aspects, we've had students who've gone and secured positions and jobs within the Human Rights Commission. We have had social workers who have gone and done some work with the United Nations. So you can go from there. You can be a frontline working at oranga tamariki, the health boards, focusing in areas of children, youth, mental health. There's also our aged, our elderly, and again, they go across a range. We also notice that social work is also going into areas of HR, because people and employers actually look at the skill set that social workers bring with them, and that's about understanding the dynamics of people and the behaviour. So again, government, district health boards and non-government organisations, that you can work across a range, that you could also be working with the refugee centre when the refugees come in, if you have a particular interest, working in the area of addiction. So remember that it's where your passion and your desire and where you have a particular interest. So it goes right across from justice, health, statutory settings, non-government organisations, and it also moves into areas of policy, and community development is another really strong area. So it has a wide range and it casts its net very wide. Is there another?
Shirley, no, that's it. I can take over. It's this is probably not as the exciting stuff as some of the program, but the really important stuff nevertheless. This is the entry requirement situation. So this is what you're looking at to try and get into the program. So if you are coming from secondary school, we know a lot of our school leavers are applying for social work. You would be studying one of the three, sort of NCA, Cambridge or IB. So just note that for Cambridge and NCA, you're looking, in addition to university entrance, you are looking for a rank score of 150. And if you're doing IB, then you're looking for a score of 26. So that assures you entry into the program. If you are coming from another institution, then they will have your transcripts assessed by the admissions department, and they're looking for a GPA of 2.4. Some of you may not have done any studies since school. You've been working and you've just decided this is the time to pursue that career that you've always wanted, or you've done something else, then you may be eligible to apply under something called special admission. So that's where you hold no formal qualifications beyond school, and you're over 20 years of age. And finally, if you are a bit unsure about heading straight back into study, either you didn't get the rank score or the university entrance required to come in from school, or you've been out of study for some time, you may decide that coming through the Tertiary Foundation Certificate, the education and social work pathway might be for you. So this is a one-year program that is designed to sort of transition you into the university, and successful completion of this program also allows you entry into the program. Now, when I say entry, I mean it's the academic entry into the program, because you are dealing with people, with children, a lot of areas that the other degrees don't deal with. We also have some additional requirements. So you may be, depending on where you're coming from and what study you've done, we may just send you some literacy and numeracy assessments via web link. We may require referee reports that can speak to your abilities and your skills and your passion in the area, and you may require an interview. And one of the most important ones is that you'll be required to go through a police check as well. So it's important just to be in mind that there will be potentially some additional conditions that you need to achieve in order to gain entry to the complete program. We also deal with something, and you might see it, the term VCA as well. And that's part of the Vulnerable Children's Act, and it's an assessment that's designed to ensure that you meet all the regulations for being able to work with children. So this is the same thing that our teaching students also go through. And finally, just looking at your English language proficiency as well. So if that's something that you're unsure on, you can contact us to let us know. We're looking, you know, if your first language is not English, then there are potentially some other ways that you can achieve that proficiency. But the best thing is to just be in touch with us so that we can assist you well before the closing date at the end of the year. So obviously the first intake for social work, or the next one, is semester 1, 2021. So everyone's very organised to be thinking about it now. And so you've got some time to start looking at some of these documents and some of these requirements. So I've got a video here I really hope is going to play for me that says a little bit about social work. It just usually needs a bit of time to kick into YouTube. Fingers crossed. So yeah, so that just that's some of our current students, which is wonderful. And it doesn't want to go. No, oops, sorry. You're all here because you would like to find information. The important thing to know is there's always information out there. So what I was going to do was just to show you, just to back out of the presentation for a moment and show you here the University of Auckland page. So all you need to do is find the University of Auckland web page. You can go to our generic page, which is all of the university, or you can go and find our education and social work page, which is just education.auckland.ac.nz. So this is a really good hub for finding all that information because you can look at everything here in great detail. So you can look at the studying things and you can say, look, I'm really interested in social work. You can look straight into the undergraduate side. Now, undergraduate is your first degree or your first proper qualification. Once you've completed that qualification, you are then eligible to go and look at something called postgraduate. So you may hear those terms bandied around, and those are really what they mean. So undergraduate is your first degree, and the Bachelor of Social Work is an undergraduate program, and postgraduate is the study that comes after that. If I click on it under career options, I can find a nice summary of social work about the careers. The outlook, obviously, it's got a high degree of employability, which is something that everyone is very keen on. And there's some external links for you to also view and read in your own time. You can even break it down by looking at the Bachelor of Social Work, and this will actually break it down into the program. So you'll actually see a lot more detail. You can see the program structure. You can see the sample courses here of things that you would take. You can see the entry requirements that I was speaking about earlier. So they're always there for you to have a look at. It allows you to calculate things that you need. It tells you about the tertiary qualification and the other pathways as well. It tells you a little bit about the fees and the scholarships. So again, you know, how much you're looking at paying if you were to come and do the program. And it also gives you key dates as well. So really important that you have a look at some of that stuff and find out your own information, because once you start searching in this website, you'll see that there's quite a bit of stuff for you to find. So one of the key things is the scholarship side. So everyone's looking for scholarships at the moment. It's important to note that a lot of the scholarships will start to open up around October and November and ahead for the year semester 1 2021. So you might see a scholarship and it will say it's not open yet or not available. It just means that the applications haven't opened up yet. Different scholarships have different requirements. So you may be able to apply for more than one scholarship if you're eligible, but you will have to make a separate application for each of those scholarships. And that's if you go internally as well. This is just the University of Auckland's scholarship page. So all we did was go in and type scholarships, undergraduate. And then There are some great ones here if you are a school leaver. So the Top Achiever Scholarship, the Māori Academic, the Pacific Academic, and the potential academic potential. So really important to note that if you're a relatively high achieving school leaver, these are things that are open to you, and that's the one shot that you have to apply for that particular scholarship. And then you can actually break it down by faculty. And so if I click on scholarships specifically for the Faculty of Education and Social Work, there's a number of scholarships that are just available for students who are in the faculty. And so that's something that everyone can apply for. So they range from $5,000 to $1,600. So they're all really helpful amounts of money that can allow you to just buy books or laptops or things like that as well, or put towards your fees. So the other thing that the University of Auckland has is a scholarship database. So if I click find a scholarship, it brings me to sort of a filtering thing. I can put in certain things, information about myself. It might be in education, or I can click filter. So you can see I can filter it by the faculty. So for example, education, I can filter it by personal characteristics. And that's because there are sometimes scholarships just for men, just for women, students with disabilities, if you're an international student, if you're a permanent resident, if you have Māori ancestry, or if you have Pacifica, you might be the first person in your family to attend university. So it's really important to put all those filters in, and it even allows you to filter by program type, so by the bachelor's degree, which is what our undergraduate degrees are. So from that, you'll be able to see a lot of information come through of degrees, scholarships that are available to you to apply for. Now, they do take a bit of time to put the information together. So if you are looking at applying for a scholarship, I do recommend that you don't do it last minute. Okay, so just be organized. The other thing, finally, just on the monetary side of it, is to look at the fees-free scheme from the government. So this is something that you can visit yourself. It's feesfree.gov.nz. You can enter your student national student number if you know what that is, or you can go through the pathway if you don't know. What it's a thing is that if you might be able to get 1 to 2 years study paid for by the government, if you're a New Zealander or ordinary resident in New Zealand, or a recent school leaver, or you haven't done much formal study. So it's really important to have a look to see if you're eligible towards this, because we have a number of students that take this opportunity up in their first year, and it really helps out with that student loan later on. If you are looking at working with StudyLink in order to get your fees paid, then I recommend that when you make an application to the university, you also make the application with StudyLink straight away as well. The two organisations talk to each other quite a bit, and what happens is if you leave it too late, they get fairly bottlenecked come sort of December, and it takes them longer to process applications. So the earlier you can have your application in with them, then the faster then they can process fees and acceptance and things like that. So I'm just going to keep going on that. And in terms of applying, it's pretty easy now, because you just go online. And what happens is, once the application happens, by clicking this button here, admission to study, and you fill on the online application form, you'll be asked to enter certain things. If you have studied before, then they will want the transcripts from that previous study. If you are a school leaver, then you'll have that national student number that you enter. They'll ask you bits and pieces about where you've been, what you've studied, and what you would like to study. So have that information ready as well when you apply. Once that happens, we will then send the information to you. So in terms of what we need next, and then we stay in touch with you. You receive access to a portal. That's your student portal or your applicant portal, and there you can find out what conditions are still pending, what do you need to do, those sorts of things. So I would recommend that as soon as you know you'd like to apply for the Bachelor, that you just jump on and make an application, just so it's there, and we can work through it with you throughout the year. So it doesn't matter how early it is, applications for next year are definitely open, and we're processing them now. And these are some of the support services that are available at the faculty. So So that we obviously have a lot of first year mentors on campus. So these are both photos taken at the campus. In addition to at the beginning of the year, there's often extra student ambassadors walking around, but the ambassadors are there and mentors are there to sort of make sure that you're doing okay. You know where everything is. If you need help with anything, they can point you in the right direction or just be a sort of form of support to you. Likewise, Te Koro Ātawhai, Māori and Pacifica support. These are services that are all included as part of the enrolment at the faculty. They provide spaces for you to do study in with computers. They provide assistance, academic assistance, helping finishing assignments, all sorts of things like that. So there's always a place to go and there's always someone to talk to. If you're struggling with a course or a particular assignment, don't just panic about it. Go and see somebody for some support. You might go to the English Language and Speech Support Centre, you know, because they can help you with English and maths. You may require disability support, and that's like everything from access in buildings right through to dyslexia. And obviously we have a huge support network around students from refugee backgrounds, the Rainbow Group, various clubs on campus as well. So there's quite a good social feeling to the campus and lots of opportunities to get involved extracurricular outside of your study. And one of the bonuses is that we have our own doctors, health and counselling service on campus. So that's something that you can access quite freely while you're on campus. So you shouldn't have to travel too far, and they're also very, very subsidised for students as well. So that's just a really, really quick introduction to the program and to the faculty. The main thing to note is that, as I said before, if you come out of this and you've still got questions, then you can use the email there, education@auckland.ac.nz, or you can go and look at our FAQs. There's a lot of answers on the FAQ page for various programs and parts of the university, but we're happy to answer any questions, and that education email will be filtered to the correct person who can actually answer it for you. So what I'm going to do is pick two questions, but I'm actually going to throw to Alex as well. So Alex is obviously a current student. We did not pay him to be here. Alex, listen, taking his time out. I'm hoping that Alex can just give you an overview of how he's finding it at the faculty, maybe what he hopes to be seeking or doing at the end of it, and maybe some of the extra services that he might have enjoyed, and then what we can do is open up the floor with Anita with some of the questions. So thanks so much, Alex.
Cool. Kia ora everyone. My name's Alex and I'm in my third year studying Bachelor of Social Work. It's great to have you all here, and if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. A little bit about me. I actually got into social work because I wanted to pursue a career in helping people and others. And a little bit about me, I'm a childhood cancer survivor. So through my life experiences, I actually switched from an engineering degree to a social work degree. So that's all the way down the other end of the spectrum. Now, I also do a lot of volunteer work with the charity Canteen and the Child Cancer Foundation and Make-A-Wish. So a lot of the work that I did with those organisations and charities helped me or inspired me to kind of pursue this degree. So the social work degree has really developed so many skills to help me meaningfully engage with people through things like collaboration, interviewing and consultation. It's really kind of just a career where I've been able to apply what I've learnt in class to real life situations and to my personal experience as well. Like strength-based perspective, narrative-based perspectives. You learned all about the theory and you're able to apply it to a more practical. Now, practicum is actually being pushed back for me this year. To semester 2. We were supposed to, you do practicum in third year and fourth year. But in year 1 and 2, you kind of learn about the theory about how to apply the theory once you get into practice in third and fourth year. So yeah, I hope that if you guys have any questions, just feel free to ask us, and I'll do the best I can to answer them.
Thank you very much, Alex. So yeah, the next step would be our Q&A. So please feel free to type any questions you have, and then we will be answering them right now. Like Alex, Shirley, and Kate might be able to answer your questions. So if you would like to ask a question, just pop it through.
It can be as simple as, do you have a pool at the campus?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. And a big gym and a big indoor AstroTurf. So those sorts of questions can be just as good.
Maybe while people are thinking about a question, I just want to might cover off a couple more things, just to sort of.
Thank you,
one of the areas you heard Alex talk about practicum, and that is a real highlight that students look forward to. 2 years, year 1 and 2, is really based at the campus, learning around theory, practice, how to, and then the next exciting bit, I think, is the year 3 and 4, where you're actually going out there and you're experiencing what it's actually like to be in the office. So one of the little phrases that we talk about is practicum to employment. And what happens in year 4 in your practicum, that is when you go out, employers are starting to look at our graduates, starting to look at you as potential employees. So by year 4, and sometimes it happens in year 3 where people are offered actually positions, part-time jobs, but by year 4, a number of our students, a high percentage of our students, are actually offered employment as the result of their placement. Because by year 4, you've got a pretty good idea where you want to start your social work career, be that with youth, be that in mental health. And so what we try to do is we try to find a placement where you're looking at wanting to develop your social work skills. So rather than waiting till you get your degree, there's actually a lot of opportunity when you're out on practicum to actually gain either part-time employment or full-time employment. And we work with students around their study to enable them to actually work and study as well. So that's another opportunity to think about that, you know, because we know some people need to continue to work. So we do work with you to develop a study pathway that will enable you to start studying. The other thing is that social work positions, they can't fill them. This is one of the job shortages in this country. So if you think, oh my gosh, 4 years, will there be a job for me? The way that the situation is, and I've been in social work a very long time, we've never been able to fill the social work positions. And so in 4 years' time, I'm pretty sure there's going to be social work positions. So don't think that, oh my gosh, what's going to happen after 4 years, and there may not be. The nature of the work is that until as a world, we've seen the world imploding and exploding, until things change dramatically, we will still have families, we will still have communities who are living in stressful situations. There will always be that need. And Alex really put it really, really well. The thing that he said is that you've got to like people. And you gotta want to be, you got to care. And you've got to be wanting to make a difference. And that's what Alex talked about, is that through his own experiences, through his engagement, that actually moving from an engineering qualification, which is pretty much around numbers and that, to moving into something that is very, grey and all sorts, but it's, I guess I want to just say is, the richness of working in social work, everybody you meet within social work will always leave you feeling even more. They give back as well. So it's not just one way. It's about a relationship that you have, and you get to meet so many extraordinary people in your lives. And so I guess you've taken the first step. You've expressed an interest, and that's the first step. I think when you think about filling in all the forms, don't be daunted by it, because they're all just forms, and that's why you got lovely Kate and everyone else to help there, because I'm not a form filler either, and so I surround myself with people like that. I just want to mention a couple of things about the forms. The VCA that Kay talked about, the police check, sometimes people go and take a deep breath in. Please don't let that put you off. If you are not clear about it, or you want to have a conversation, get hold of us here at the university. We can talk you through what that actually means. But to work in social work, everybody has to be police checked, because you're working with our most vulnerable population. But it doesn't mean it excludes you from the program. So please don't let that put you off. because we all have a story to tell. And the other thing is that, the last thing is that this social work program is recognised in Aotearoa, New Zealand, but it's also recognised internationally. So if you want to travel and continue your social work practice overseas, our qualification is recognised in overseas, and so we see big recruitment drives coming from a number of big countries coming to recruit our graduates because because one of the things that we have here, which is really unique, is that you will be introduced to bicultural practice as well. And so that is quite unique across the world, because they do focus on one type of practice, but we have a bicultural relationship with Māori, and it's about working with Māori and other cultures cross-culturally. Yeah, so I just wanted to fill in a couple more gaps, but I saw, so what sort of jobs have you worked? Sorry, Anita, is that a question for me, Anita?
Yeah, I think someone
okay.
So yeah, Shirley's
okay.
a question
Oh, sorry.
you, asking you what sort of jobs you've worked in. It's been the highlight of your career.
Oh, okay. Oh gosh. Well, if I told you, started my first way back, you'd know how old I was. Just say it's been a very long career in social work. Social work's my profession. I'm a registered social worker. I was sat on the social work registration board, so that was a ministerial appointment. I've only just come off that board. My career has gone from starting my career and working in the mail room, sorting the mail in social work, to being a national manager at Orangatama at Child, Youth and Family. So I've worked predominantly with children, and I've been a variety of roles working in that. So I've had a long history within social work, frontline social work, working with children. I've worked in communities, I've worked in statutory, I've worked in non-statutory, and in the last 9 years I have been working in education. So I have been the program leader at Manukau Institute of Technology, Te Wānanga Aotearoa, and at the university. So, but I've stayed within the scope of social work. And the highlight for me in my career is every single person I came across in my social work career is that I was privileged to be a part of their journey, and working with families and walking with families, so that if I ever see them today, that sometimes we had successes and sometimes we didn't, but I have been privileged because they shared their stories with me. And that's what we have to think about social work, is that we're privileged to go into, and we hold privileged positions, and yeah, not one thing is, families, children, all of that's been the highlight. So that's my very long reply.
Thank you very much, Shirley. 2 more questions came through about, they're both about practicum, so I think I'll just ask them together. So this person would like to know, what types of stuff do you do when you're out on placement, and if you need a full driver's license for that. Yeah, and I think also more specific, like what fields in social work will the placement be in?
Okay, so first of all, you'll need a full driver's license, because and so start working on that now, working out how, and because by year 3 the practicum team will require you to have that full driver's license unless there are medical conditions that prohibit you from driving, and they can make allowances for that. We recognise that some social work, so there is residential social work where you will go into mental health facilities where they are inpatients, youth justice where they are in residential centres that won't require you to drive, but you still need to have that driving licence just in case, because that makes you more employable as well. The range of practicum, maybe Alex, you want to talk about where you're going?
Yeah, well, I'm going to Campus Connections this year, which is actually run within the university for youth outside of the education system, so providing support systems for them and their families to help them get back on the educational paths. So practicum's been a little bit wobbly this year. I was actually originally going to Tyler, Turn Your Life Around in Avondale. But because of the practicum complications, I've now switched to Campus Connections, which still works with youth, works with troubled youth. So that's what I'm really interested in. I'm also potentially wanting to take this into a hospital system or the medical system, working with young people, maybe potentially with a cancer diagnosis, because cancer just doesn't affect just one person, it affects the whole whānau. But yeah, so I'm looking forward. I can't really speak about what it is in practicum because I actually haven't done it yet. But I'm looking forward to applying everything that I've learned in the first 2 years to placement, and then there's a lot of reflecting and a lot of social work is a ever evolving career where you're constantly or consistently building upon your knowledge pool. So you're learning every day, you're meeting new people, you're making connections. It's very relational. And I wanted to just add on to what Shelley was saying about like the campus, and the full license. Another positive thing about the full license is that you've actually got free parking on the Epsom campus. So that might be a good, maybe it might be a good idea to get your full license anyway, so that you can drive. That makes it very nice and easy. You don't have to catch a bus into the city and then back. And then just in regards to the lecturers are really awesome and really personable. They're really approachable. So the small class sizes are just a pro as well. Like you've got the city campus where you've got maybe like, let's say, 500 plus per lecture. Whereas the social work one, it's kind of like a education and social work faculty. It's a very whānau-based faculty where we're all quite tightly knit, close knit with one another. And the lecturers will quite happily work with you one-on-one to make sure that you have all your questions asked and that you have all the support that you need to do the assignment. So couldn't recommend it more, and I look forward to seeing you all next year.
Thanks, Alex.
And maybe I'll just give a little bit more adding on to Alex, is that so when you go on practicum, usually in the first you're gonna be shadowing social workers. You will be provided with supervision. You will be working with families. These are not sort of role plays or what you've been practicing. You're actually going to be working with families, clients. Alex will be working with mentoring youth. And so you're going to be putting actually what you've learned into practice. You will be supervised. The organisation will supervise you, will monitor you. And then by year 4, it's expected that you will actually carry a very small caseload in the organisation. So you will be working directly with clients. But again, you will be supervised and you will have a number of areas where you'll have support around you. This is actually taking what you've learned in the classroom and taking it in there. It's a little bit like a nurse or a doctor, they learn all the theory, but then they actually go onto the ward. And that's actually what you're doing, is like you're going to be like the medical. You go onto the ward, you're going to be providing some guidance, but you will be doing it under a supervised. An opportunity has come up, and Alex is the first group through, is that we have a program which they're doing, but it's actually also incorporated practicum where we're working with youth. So that's a whole new initiative. If you're doing policy, if that's where you go to do on your practicum, you may go to the Salvation Army, and they have a very good policy unit, and they are usually there with social workers. So you'll be working with them in developing policy. And so if you like doing research and doing an analysis, that's where it goes. So we look to what it is you want, where your areas of interest are. The practicum team do. Sometimes they ask you to stretch yourself a little bit. So if you've already been working somewhere and you're already doing it, we may say, how about you do something quite different, because we want to stretch you. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that means you can actually choose which field you want to work, you want placement to be in.
You can, what you do is you have your little wish list, and so you have 2 options, and then the practicum team will look at it. They will talk with you, because everyone gets a one-on-one interview, and they start to explore with you. And sometimes it's really interesting. Some people will stay with really strongly where they want to go and do their practicum. This is the area I want. It's called fields of practice. Or some people may actually change completely and do something different because they want experience. So this will be dependent, and this will be working with the team, the practicum team. There are 4 in there, and they work with the students they start working with you from year 2, getting you ready for practicum. In semester 2, year 2, you actually have a paper which is about focusing on preparation for practicum. So we're already starting that in year 2. So you already need to start thinking about it in year 1.
Okay.
Just something really quickly, just to mention that not all our classes are now face-to-face. We have some online classes as well. So it's really important that students have the ability to have technology. And if you only have a phone, it's going to be a little bit challenging to complete your coursework. So think about, we have the library here, we have other areas where you can use computers, but because in year 1, 4 of the classes are actually online, they're called flip classes. And so you will be required to do some work in using technology.
I might just add in there, and Shirley, correct me if I'm wrong, but for those that are interested in practicum, usual focus on 3rd year is an NGO, so like the not-for-profit organisations, and then in year 4 you'll be doing more government-orientated, such as such as hospitals or oranga-tamariki.
Yep, that's right, Alex. Good pickup. And also, we do go into the prisons. So we do have in year 4, that is, where we go into sometimes the mother and child units in the prisons and work with there. We go into the men's prisons. So it goes broad, much wider. So it's about thinking about, but don't make decisions right now, everybody. Just explore.
I think some people were asking the difference between taking sociology in an arts degree and taking social work, and I'm sure Shirley can expand on that with the registration side, but yeah, it seems to be, it's quite a common thing that people are considering between.
Yeah, look, sociology is very, very broad, and what we do is taking it in year 1 is we give you an introduction to this area of sociology, but we link it much more strongly around gauging it towards social work think. So when we look at sociology, we look at some of the, and there are some commonalities with sociology in the arts, but we start to move it towards looking at particular areas. And I think Alex, you've done sociology. What would you say that the key points were that directed it towards social work?
I think it was mainly understanding theories such as theories that apply to a one-to-one scenario. So working with people, applying it to a relational basis. I'm not sure if that makes much sense, but getting the theories from sociology and putting them into a more practical sense of working with whānau, and you had to write like an essay on how you would apply this theory in a social work sense when working with a family that is struggling with this. Yeah. So a lot of kind of reflection and application of what you've learned to set you up for 3rd and 4th year when you're on placement.
Yep, well put, Alex.
Thank you very much, both of you. There's a question that I think it would be more of a Shirley question. Do you learn a little bit of law in BSW and like laws related to social work? And if so, is it a big part of the program?
In year 2, you do a paper called Social Work in the Law. So you look at legislation, so it's very strongly in there. In year 3 and 4, you look at statutory social work, which has a very high element of legislation. So it doesn't every year, actually. You will look at law, because law and legislation actually is significant in guiding social work practice. And so you also look at human rights. You look at the United Nations Declaration of Indigenous Rights. So you look at a wide range of legislative frameworks and you start to look at in year one, what you'll start to look at in 115 is social work registration competency. So that's around fit and proper and competency to practice social work. So every year we're giving you some sort of legislative frameworks that you have to start to develop an understanding around, because you can't work outside of those perimeters, otherwise you get into big trouble.
Thank you, Shirley. There's one question about exams. Will there be exams? And if so, what are they and how are they done?
Usually, so we're going through exams. Well, they would normally have exams. So in year one, there are 3 papers that will have an exam. And so under normal conditions, there would be an exam at the end of the semester. So if you're a semester 1, June is when the exams will occur. The exams are usually set for 2 hours, and they are usually made up of 3 sections, and one of them would be like a multi-choice. Then you might have to write something. But what happens is there's a lot of work done with the tutors preparing you for exams. So we're not going to say, this is the date for the exam, rock up. And all the exam material content is actually from the classes that you've attended. All the material is there. The tutors will work with you. Year 2, there are 2 exams in semester 1 if you're in year 2, and in year 3 and 4 there are no exams. They do more assignment work, and the assignment work is much bigger. So you may have an example in year 1, you may have 3 types of assignment: a piece of reflective writing, a group presentation, and an exam. And then in year 3 and 4 you're going to do more project work and more sort of bigger sort of analysis type work. So usually year 1 and 2 you'll have some exams, but they're not hugely onerous, but then I haven't taken them. So Alex, I don't know if you want to comment on the exams.
I had the exams in year 1 and year 2, and the tutors, they're really, really good. So they pretty much, they take you through all the lectures, and they kind of sum it up in a way that is really understandable. So it's not as scary as you might think.
Thank you very much. So I think that's all for the questions. If you have any more questions, like Kate has mentioned before, you can send us an email to the education@auckland mailbox, and then we'll be happy to answer your questions. One question just came through, sorry. Good timing. So what are some topics we learn about in year 1? Could you go into more detail based upon the topics?
Okay, in year 1 you will have sorry, you were just finishing off year 1 now. You'll have sociology. So you have sociology, you have culture and diversity. So you're looking at the makeup of culture, you're looking at diverse groups, you're looking at the theory that sits within there. That's a what we call a flipped classroom. You have what they call hum serve. Actually, I might ask Alex, talk about what your year 1 looked like.
So actually, all I was going to say was that you can actually find all that information on the university website. It actually gives you a breakdown of exactly what is in year 2, 3, and year 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it gives you a little bit of a synopsis of what that paper is about. So if you go onto the website and you key in Bachelor of Social Work, and then you go down to program requirements, and then what is in the program, what the program consists of, it'll tell you each and every paper. So my first year was kind of like a general understanding of what social work is, and then I think every year builds on the previous year. So kind of the knowledge that you learned in year 1, helps you to write the essays and stuff like that in year 2. So you've got, and you've also got access to that information, all your lecture recordings and stuff like that. They don't go away. You've got access to all of those in year 2, 3, and 4. So, yeah.
I think and Alex is right, it's all sitting there. And I think just to think about, just going beyond that, is that year 1 really focuses on you, understanding yourself and understanding your worldview, your values, your belief systems. Because unless we understand ourselves and we're centered, then we sometimes we go into other families or other situations, and so it can be challenging. So year one is about understanding self and how you locate yourself. You're going to also have Te Ao Māori, which is understanding the relationship that you have with Māori, the relationship the Crown does, and some historical. This is the year where you start to form as a cohort, as a group, and starting to create your foundation. Year two is starting to introduce you to practice and to theory. This is where you've got the law, you've got practice, different theories and different practice skills. So this is preparing you for practicum. Year three is you're starting to look at the bigger picture, and you're starting to be introduced to research concepts. You're starting to look at organisations, and you're starting to look at the broader picture. And this is where you also start to look at your electives around either mental health or working with children and family, which one you are particularly interested in, or and around youth. Year four is you're starting to look at much more of evaluation, analysis, research. And that's the much broader. This year four is about pulling it all together. So year one, understanding self, understanding your worldview, your values, your beliefs. Year two, practice and theory. Year three is going out and trying it and thinking about it, critiquing it, looking at areas where you, fields of practice, different fields of practice that you may will elect to do that paper. And year four is around the bigger picture. It's around organisation, but it's also around pulling it together, where you're starting to develop your frameworks and your area of your research thinking and your evaluation elements. Hopefully that's, so all the detail of actually what's taught is on the website, but that's sort of how it is. And as Alex said, everything is scaffolded. So what you learn in year one actually goes into year two, and they all follow each other. It's not they're done as siloed, they're actually all scaffolded.
Thank you, Shirley. And I think Kate's sharing with us, her screen,
Yep.
so you can see the program structure for year 1, 2, 3, and 4. Perfect. So are there any more questions? If not, then Kate, would you mind going back to the PowerPoint, the email address, that page? Yeah. So yeah, just a refresher that if you have any questions, you can send us an email. The faculty's student center will be reopening not next Monday, the Monday afterwards, so the 24th of June, possibly even earlier, but if you want to pop in to have a chat with the advisors, feel free to book an appointment online, or it can be done through Zoom as well. Perfect. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And hopefully, like what Alex said, we'll see you next year.
Thank you everyone. And thank you, Shirley. Thank you so much.
Okay then, have a good
Have
evening.
a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye.